Day 2 of Pivot, a wellness project, January 2nd, 2021. This one I dedicate to a dear friend of mine, an old soul who's a great storyteller, and my thoughts are with you. So we've been in a year where it's been crazy. We have 3 options: fight, flight, or freeze. And for the powers that be, they've had to put up the fight. And those people who are in the hospitals every day battling it out are helping people stay alive. And the people who are trying to stay alive are fighting every day to hopefully, ideally, get back to their loved ones. That's the fight. Then we've got the flight, where it's many of us who are living in fear and we're avoiding, and we see others as a potential contamination or a vector of transmission, that you over there might be harm for me. I don't know you, so it's best to stay away, stay at a distance, wear my mask, keep the peace as best as possible. And then finally, there's the rest of us who've been holed up in our hobbit holes in this big blue dot traveling on the International Space Station called our life. And we're freezing. And how do we freeze? We mask it with this thing called working more. We mask it with this thing called escaping into worlds of copious amounts of television, copious amounts of reading books, copious amounts of, even for me, trying to find a way back to exercise. And really, in the bigger picture, what we're doing is that we're trying to just make sense of a world that's constantly changing, in a world that's filled with potential harm, great danger, perceived fear. So my story is a story that's to remind me of my first lesson of harm reduction. And it was getting in a fight in grade school, my first fight, grade 1. And in grade 1, this kid, I don't know, in hindsight, I think said something that racialized me. And prior to that point, I didn't know what I was. And my response was a deep fight. I saw red, and we pushed each other, and I even remember taking it to the extent where I pushed his head into a wall. Soon after, my parents gave me the blessed gift of taking on the martial arts, and I've been practicing ever since. And martial arts has been a wonderful way to find a peaceful practice. Every moment that I can, I find moments to breathe and meditate. Every moment that I can and bring myself to it, I find moments to practice staying calm. And all with arming myself with this skill set so that if ever there is a scenario where someone is doing dangerous harm towards me and I cannot flee, and freezing won't do anything to me because I'm backed into a corner, I may have to fight. So I guess within that, in all of this training, what I'm saying for day 2 is the lesson learned is that you have to take on coaches, facilitators, join a community, and come up with an action plan. An action plan that's harm reducing in nature, that can decompress your stresses, and at the end of the day, whatever it is, develop a peaceful practice. Ways to access this is through taking on coaches and facilitators and people who join you in your team as advisors. And they are those who give you gifts for you to assess the cognitive, the somatic, the interpersonal, the moral, the spiritual, the emotional fights that you go through in the day-to-day. And this has been emotion. We're putting up a good fight, we're getting tired, and the majority of us at the end of the day, when we don't have science experiments to do in this space station, we've had to freeze. We're past the shortest day of the year. And in Pivot, a wellness project, I just ask you to entertain. Build an advisory team. Come up with an action plan. And even if you can't implement it perfectly, just implement it in little bits. Find your way to practicing peace.